dear friend of mine who swallows suffering with smile. I drew a different reality with unconditional loyalty. Ego hardly can be picked 'cause I'm
Je suis tranquille chez moi.
Well, hello, my golfing friends. It is another live stream today because due to the fact that Roy, thank you, I will say it here and I will say it each time for the live stream because I can, because I want, and because I enjoy it. So here we are. The title has already, let me see if the mic levels are right. It's always see if everything is going as planned. Today's topics are a few. Of course, if you click on the title, you have already, you feel which side is going on. And there's a little bit of a theme that, like, okay, with the live streams, there are some strange things that I encounter in the golf world that I am now in for 4 years, and it still sometimes amazes me. However, I'm not alone. And I know that sometimes you feel the same thing, and many of you are very knowledgeable, so you might not even be in the category of the people that are being misused by the golf industry. Now, for example, if you have a car and you're not a mechanic, and you just want to be, the car has to work, it needs to drive you from A to B, and you need to know what the expenses are. Yeah, it's very hard to become a mechanic to make sure that you buy the best car that you can buy, do all the tests, check it up front. Of course, there are people who can do that. But many of you, including myself, you can do a few things that like, oh, these are important things, I need to check that. But that's it. Golf industry, without any standards, does the same thing. So again, if there's no talks around it and there is no pressure of or education on standards throughout the whole industry, then you cannot expect that people are picking up the knowledge by themselves because they want to do that. Specifically for all the users from the first year to probably the 5th year for sure, they are really searching without knowing what to search for. Now, specifically in the distances, it's very easy sell to say like, oh yeah, this iron 7 is going so and so many, miles and so many meters and so many yards and so many whatever. But that's always that famous 7. Okay, even if you want to go to a shop and you want to borrow a set, you cannot do it. You can borrow a 7, but nothing else. And then, of course, if you see all the gappings that there might be, you will always also see that, like, oh, the gappings. Who's thinking about that at all? Specifically for a beginner, they know, like, yeah, they go different distances. But the gaps that shouldn't be a worried. It should be even already from the factory, but it is not. So there's one of the videos that I think that really nailed a lot in this. And it's a big YouTuber, and I think it was one of the best ones that I've seen on this. This is a test that Matt Fryer did to see, like, okay, listen, if I'm going to do these comparisons, I need to check a few things. So I will scroll a little bit down. I think he's explaining it here. Hopefully there's no advert and we have to wait a little bit.
Shafts in because, like your friends that you could be playing with, you might have a stiff, they might have a regular, but you're basing your decision all on the number that is on the bottom of the golf club. So let me introduce you to the clubs that we're going to be using throughout this test.
So he's using a few clubs to do that test. However,
that has a steel Nippon AWT stiff flex shaft in
so
it.
different kind of brands, different kind of
Tour iron, and that comes in a dynamic gold Tour
things that he did.
X100
However,
shaft. So with each of those irons, one of the other things that we have.
But then he's
So
going
is that
to also
actually
go
gonna
into
affect the performance of them. So before
the
I
length.
actually hit these clubs, there's two things that I want to know. I want to know the length of the club, and I also want to know the loft of the club, because if some clubs are longer than others, which we have seen happening nowadays from the golf industry, technically that should mean if I get a longer shaft, I get more club head speed. That's if I actually find the middle of the club, because if I lengthen the shaft, it's harder to actually find the sweet spot more.
So he's going to do that. He's going to make notes
3/4
out of it,
inches.
and
We
at a
then have
certain
the
moment
head
he comes
speed.
also to a sort of
Surprise,
conclusion.
surprise, the ping was the longest carry distance out of all the clubs. We know that it had the longest shaft, and we know that it had the least loft.
So this is a
Out of all
great
clubs.
example. The ping, it's the longest shaft. The loft is 33, and it was also the longest. You cannot
we
see it
actually
very
work
well
down the
now,
table, we
because
look at
I'm
something like the Haywood
blocking that
that
view
had
a
one of-
little bit. Let me see if I can get it to that one. Yeah. No. 1 second back. 1 second back. Here we go. I think this is the one.
Here now, if we throw the table up on screen,
Okay, here we go. Now you can see it here. There are, those might be small differences, but for example, loft is a big one. You see it also in the carry, specifically the 187 of ping with also a longer shaft, and with a loft which is cranked, which is a stronger lofted iron. You see then that this difference, it's huge. We're talking about 20, well, they talk about yards, so it's around about 17 meters, which, you can fly over a green with that difference. So this video, specifically about it, it's called The Biggest Con in Golf, and I think that is spot on. And for a bigger channel to do something like that, because, I said it before, it is a business. You do not want to bury all your contacts that you have. You want to, stay in the business, so you work with it. However, to do a honest test around it, and then, of course, showing the numbers as well, it's very confronting. But people, specifically, who do not go into the knowledge or trying to find it out and test it, or it is not available, then you come into direct issues later on, or you're being sold something which is, untrue. In Golf Spy, they said it as well. There are no standards in lie, there's no standard in length, and there are no standards in flexes and not in loft. So of all the things, so lie angle is debatable if that really has an effect. Well, it has an effect on it because your arc. Well, okay, I'll stay out of that one. But they come here and make the differences pretty clear around the length, which is, they talk about indeed that there can be much as an inch difference in those kind of shafts. And then the loft is the biggest disgraceful thing of them all. And so what my problem is why are we still talking about iron 7, iron 8? Yeah, because, that's how they were called. It's not because that is the best way of, naming those. But, we have to deal with the world we live in. I would love to see that all the manufacturer and the whole golf industry and the community starting to talk in degrees. Because at least in also the tests, that loft is one of the bigger impacting factors of everything. And of course, the speed and thus the length of the shaft. Also, what Matt Fryer has missed out upon was including mass. That would be even more perfect, because I'm not sure if you know it, but let me see if I can, quickly find that for you. Yeah, I think I've mentioned it in one of my live ones. Oh, yeah, this one. Here I'll show you it again, because I fall in love with this game so much. Yeah, I am in love with the game. That's still the case, of course, even with these strange things. The formula for kinetic energy. ky is the 1 structure 2 times f times v that was of 2. So where mass is one of the factors of it, but velocity is a higher factor. So if you want to, for example, calculate for yourself how to do it, then you have to include mass as well. But that being a side note. So coming back to all of these things that you cannot expect from somebody who just wants to drive a car, who just wants to play a golf, that they are going to be sold something which is fair or fair-ish. And that's my point. My really first set, I bought it because everyone said, oh, yeah, it's cheap and it's forgiving. And then I had to do my own thing, of course, being nerdy as I am with things. And then, I came to Pinhawk because they are traditional lofted. It's all the same length. It doesn't mess up my head, specifically if you go into the brand things. Please note that technology is a thing. You can put your weight in the irons, of course, very different to different materials. I'm not saying that it is only these things. There are other things as well. But if there would be a standard, you might see that some of the brands might, lose a little bit of market share because they're performing 7 iron, should be called then so and so many degrees iron, and then see what the result is. You see in my videos, I always, for the clubs that I'm using, I always add the loft in it. Also, if I play with my buddies, then it's like, oh, with how many degrees are you playing? Because we have comparable distances with our speed that we have, and it is way better to talk in specifically the loft. It tells you a lot more. My lob wedge goes 70 meters due to a 59 degrees loft, and but it is with a shaft length of a 5 iron, of a standard 5. So it's very hard to come up with all these calculations that one should do up front. Nevertheless, so that was one thing that I, as a topic wanted to bring up, and so I did, because I can, I want, and I enjoy it. You can do whatever with you like. One few things that I also wanted to talk, and I hopefully I did it in the. Some people do not know where to find the little thingies here. Golf's knowledge, what's to come for the channel, what we will go, and we can, if there are people in the chat, we'll do a little bit of interaction. I've changed that a little bit, so I hope you will join. Well, what's to come for the channel and with our journey? You have seen, hopefully already, the first round that we did in the United States, in Arizona. It was an incredible experience, but we've got, of course, more coming up. So let me see here. Share here like this. Here's you see a number. Here's the round. This one is already out. And you see that on the 18th of April, the second round on Johnson Ranch will come out. The 2nd of May, then we will be at Superstition Springs. The video will come out. 16th of May, Quarry Pines will come out. Quarry Pines, wow. And the last round that we did in Arizona, Phoenix area, USA, is the Bear Creek round that we did. So I've got a lot of videos coming up, each with 2 weeks, and on the Tuesday I will, probably put in a live stream like this because I can and I want and I enjoy it. I love that phrase. It's something that needs to go on over the Metalheads logo or something, something like that. Thanks, Roy. So that is at least coming up. One other thing that is coming up, this is, after this season, I will have been playing 5 years after the season. So I'm in my 5th year, so it's not yet 5. We've got a lot of things coming up. Of course, there will be the Dutch Championship one length, but also what to do with my game. Because I said in every video, it's about our journey, and our journey brings us to places like Arizona. It brings us to the weekends that we did. It brings us in contact with other people, and I really love it. However, the game process, the performance, this year I'm feeling that some of the things, because I've never taken any lessons, and I did one time, an experience, but that was not a lesson. That was more, hey, just experience what we are doing here. And I was sometimes thinking about lessons because I was really fucked up, but I want to do it myself, and it can go quicker than others in that sense. But I like to do it myself, and because it's fun and it's part of the journey. And when you're from the class of 68, it's a nice example, like what can you still reach, and there is a standard to measure how good you are. That's the handicap system. So I'm 18.6 at the moment, and I was thinking 3 years ago, 2 years ago, oh no, not 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I would have been a little bit better than I am. I have been also something in the 16. I have not been something in the 15, so 16.2 or something. But something is clicking this year. So after the Dutch Championship, I will focus more on performance. So less on technique and scoring better, and then see what I can do really with my score. But that means that we'll be already in the midst of the season. And when that's done, up to June for sure, I will be playing still a bit with technique, do some standard things that I can really focus upon, and then start, see how low I really can go. And that will be the start, because this year is still the last experimental year for me. And then we'll go to the next years, and then so somewhere in January I will probably think and fantasize about what my next goals might be. So that's what I wanted to share with all of you. I've got. I only have to thank you again for seeing this video when you see this video. It's always live, so this is what gets out, and I will see if I can give you some nice ending strange music, because I like strange music, and I say
Have you been busy?
love out.
Have you been busy?
Stay metal.
Yes, mate, I have been busy. I've been as busy as a blowfly at a barbecue.
Well, that is busy, isn't it? That's quite busy. What about you, mate? Have you been busy? Have you been busy, have you?
I've been busier than a one-legged man in an asking competition.
Ah! Jeez, that is busy. It's quite busy. Shane, have you been busy, mate? Have you been busy, have you?
Fucking oath I've been busy. Been busier than a dog with 2 fucking dicks.
And what about you, Ryan? Have you been busy too?
Yeah, mate, I've been busy.
How busy have you been, pal?
Been busier than a cat.
A fucking cat, mate. Is that right?
You haven't really been that busy. Been on holidays then, have you? Bit of relaxing time. Bit of watching the bloody grass grow. Watching the paint dry, have you?
No, I've been busier than a cat.
Ew.
Mate, everyone knows cats aren't that busy.
I've been busier than a cat bearing shit.
Nah. You haven't been busy, mate. You haven't been bloody busy at all. On concrete.
What?
I have been busier than a cat bearing shit on concrete.
Well, that is fucking busy then, isn't it? You have been quite busy then, haven't you?
He's a busy boy. He's a busy little beaver.
of this. You have the method, but will you move mountains? This has become quite a vehicle with a roof for aggrandizing goals. You have adapted to the